Hey, what's up? Ian here, and today I'd like to talk about this Simgot EM6L. It is a 1DD plus 4 balanced armatures IEM, and the retail price for this is $109 US. It's available on Simgot's website, so if you guys are interested to find out more, do check out the unaffiliated link in the description below. Now in this video, I'll go through the accessories, design, build quality, my sound impression, I'll compare it with another IEM, and I'll give it my star rating. Now if you this video will be time-stamped, so please feel free to skip around. So let's first start off with the specifications of this IEM. The impedance is 26 ohms, sensitivity is 109, and the effective frequency range is 20 to 20,000 Hertz. Now inside this box you'll find a user guide, a carrying case, and 3 different sizes of ear tips. Now the carrying case is a very normal and simple carrying case. It's a pill shape. You put IEM here, and you've got a mesh pocket on this side. It comes with a zipper, and it's hard shell, so it does the job, but a very simple case. Now in terms of ear tips, the inner core is quite firm, okay. The outer flange quite soft, okay, so you get a combination of firmness and softness, but I can feel that this ear tip is actually made of good quality material. Doesn't feel cheap at all, but yeah, it's a good ear tip. Now in terms of cable, it's a 2-core cable, as you can see, and it's terminated with a straight type 3.5 headphone jack. It's got the usual Y splitter and chin slider, and the overall ear hook is nice and soft, and it's got a 2-pin connector. Okay, so that's for the cable. As for the IEM itself, it's very nice and classy looking and very glossy, mirror-like finish. As you can see, it's black in color. I can call this the Black Beauty. But the faceplate, yeah, it looks very classy, very glossy. And one caveat is that it attracts fingerprints. So I do suggest to bring along a piece of cloth so that you can wipe it out as and when you need it. Right, the inner shell is very nice and glossy as well, as you can see, and the nozzle is inserted into the inner shell, and it's got this perforated metal filter, right? And what I like about this is that there's a print, right? There's a print of left or right, and one look I can tell which is the left and right. It's easy for me to insert it or connect it to my cable. Okay. Now let's talk about the fit and comfort for this. Fit and comfort is pretty good, right? I've got no issues with the fit and comfort for this. It's not exact fit to my ears, but I don't feel any pain or any discomfort when I'm wearing this. So yeah, pretty okay with it. I'm fine with it in terms of there's no odd shape or anything like that that gives me physical fatigue or pain. Right now, in terms of seal, the ear tips are fine. The given ear tips are fine, but when I was using my CP145, it gives me a more comfortable, and in terms of the angle of the ear tip, right, that gives me a more comfortable fit and a better seal. So yeah, I would prefer to use my own ear tips on these IEMs. Okay, right, so that's it for all the accessories and all that. Let's talk about now the sound. First, let's talk about drivability of this. Now, these are okay to drive. Okay, I would say at a comfortable listening level of about 50% volume, right? That's where I was listening to this. Sometimes it could go down to 40%, all right, depending on the track, okay? But I've been listening to this on my iPhone, my iPad, my dongles, and my DAPs, so no problems driving these. Now, in terms of gear matching, I would recommend warmer gear, right? Warmer sounding gear, more textured gear, more analog and musical type of gear. And the iPods and the Sony A55s, well, any Apple iPods or the Sony DAPs, they are pretty compatible with this EM6L. Now, in terms of not really compatible, I mean, you still can use it, but it's not really compatible, is the unfortunately things that are more neutral sounding, okay? So my M15S is a little bit towards the neutral sounding one, so not really compatible, and the Cristal M15 also not really compatible. Okay, so that's for the gear matching. Now let's talk about the tone and timbre for this. This is very musical, very nice, very warm, very textured, and it's got a very casual listening experience. The tone and timbre is heavy, and yeah, I would say bass heavy lah. It's not by a lot, but I would say the bass shelf on this is really good, so it gives it a more musical and analog feel. Okay, now in terms of technical performance, these actually, even though it sounds heavy and at the lower end, it's still quite a technical performer. The higher ends are also pretty good. They sound pretty clear and pretty resolute as well. Soundstage is a normal soundstage, not a very wide and holographic type of soundstage, but it's got good sound separation and good layers as well. Imaging is pretty good, right? I can identify where the instruments are, and detail retrieved are a little bit lacking, right? The details on this, even though it's a very clear IEM, right, in terms of resolution, but because of the bass, it doesn't feel a lot of details lah, so I can't really pick up quite a lot of nuances on this IEM. But the resolution on this is actually very good, right? I can hear the sound in a very clear form. It's just and also very forward as well. And it's a very resolving IEM as compared to those other 1+4 kind of configurations. Okay, so that's for the technical part of this. Now let's talk about the sound signature of this IEM. Let me bring up my graph. Alright, so this is the sound signature of the EM6L which I measured, and it looks very close to Harman. In fact, it's supposed to be Harman. It's just that the bass shelf here is a little bit elevated, and if you look at this graph, it's a very smooth graph. And when I listen to it, and I think maybe because of this tuning, right, it makes this IEM sound so smooth and so pleasing, right, to the ear. There's no quirky type of peaks and spikes or anything like that. It's a very smooth tuning. Okay, now in terms of sub bass, this is where I like it so much. It's got that musical sub bass, very rumbly, very firm rumble and very deep grunt type of rumble, and I like it very much. It's very engaging, it's warm, it's textured, it's colored, it's very fulfilling type of rumble. Mid bass is also very punchy, impactful, and yeah, overall this bass combination, right, it gives me a very engaging experience when I'm listening to my tracks. Because if the bass is a little bit lackluster, right, or it depends on what track I listen to, I want the presence of the bass, but I don't want it to be overly done. And this IEM gives it to me, so it's not overly bassy. At the same time, it's got that firmness there. Okay, now in terms of the lower mids, as in the mid-range, this is recessed, yes. Instruments, they do sound veiled and impeded by the mid-bass, but they're still clear, right? The tone and timbre of the instruments, like the pianos and the violins, they've got a very heavy note to it, very heavy and textured note to it, but they sound musical, they sound analog, they sound yeah, overall not so dry at all, so it's engaging lah. Basically, I like the overall tonal color of this IEM in terms of instruments. Now vocals also, they sound very colored and textured. For example, the male vocals, they have got very present authority in the mix as well. So when they're in the track, you feel the presence of the male vocal, and they're very authoritative as well. Female vocals, they sound very bassy at the lower end. At the same time, they sound bright, they sound energetic, very good presence, but they don't sound honky, they don't sound shouty, they don't sound sibilant or even harsh. Okay, so female vocals, yeah, they sound actually very engaging as well. So for male and female vocals, they both sound great on this IEM. Now in terms of treble's got good energy, good gain to the pinna, very safe actually, if you ask me. It's quite harmonish. As you can see, it's so close to the Harman curve. Yeah, so overall treble, no issues. There's no shoutiness, there's no spiciness, it's not sibilant. Overall, yeah, very balanced, well balanced treble. It's bright, energetic, and it rolls off very naturally, as you can see here, right? So very nice treble, right? So no issues with the treble. And one thing I like about the treble is that it's clear, it's very crystal clear. I think maybe because of the driver, but I don't know. But when I listen to bassy songs, there's also some parts whereby they've got a very high frequency, right? And that it comes very clear, overshadowing the bass. Okay, right, so that's the overall tuning of this EM6L. So I would conclude that this one is yeah, a very nice and musical and analog and very mature type of tuning, and very engaging type of and very fun type of tuning. And for me, when I listen to my tracks, especially for those mainstream music like the pop songs and R&B and hip hop, those kind of songs, it's very pleasing and pleasant to listen to. Yeah, it actually gives me pleasure when I'm listening to this IEM on my pop songs. Yeah, so I would say it's suitable for a lot of genre of music. Now, classical, I would say is hit or miss. Sometimes like jazz, right? Jazz or instrumental, 3-piece band or 2-piece. It sounds pretty good, right? But once it comes to an orchestra, with a big overall stage, then it might sound a little bit too bassy, and then some of the mids in terms of the details may be lost. Okay, but other than that, yeah, it's actually a jack of all trades, very musical IEM. Okay, and for that, I'll give this IEM a rating of 3.5 stars out of 5 stars. Okay, 3.5 stars out of 5 stars. Very good, well performing IEM. But in terms of price to performance, now this, as I mentioned, is $109 US. So at this price, $109 US, there are a lot of IEMs out there at this price point. So it's actually a very competitive area with quite a few with the same configurations in terms of drivers. So in terms of price to performance, I say it does perform to its price point, but there are other competitors out there with similar tuning, with similar sound performance. Okay, right, so that's my review for the EM6L. Now let's compare it with another IEM, and what I have here is the Joy Audio VX10. Alright, so let me bring out that graph, okay, which is over here. Alright, the VZ10. Okay, so in terms of technical performance, the EM6L, okay, both of these have the same driver configurations, right? 1 dynamic driver and 4 balance armatures. So in terms of technical performance, the EM6L, it sounds more rounded. In terms of the overall resolution, it sounds a bit cleaner, right, as compared to the Joy Audio VX10 or VZ10, and the overall soundstage is a little bit wider. Okay, in terms of tonal balance, I would say the VZ10 has got a more natural tonal balance as compared to the EM6L. So yeah, if you want something more natural sounding, the VZ10 would be your choice. But if you want something more fun, more musical, more analog, then it would be the EM6L. Now in terms of treble, I would say the EM6L sounds more natural on the other hand. If you look at the graph here, the tail end of the treble is a little bit odd on the VZ10, and this is what I hear from my ears. Okay, so basically it sounds a bit unnatural in terms of my cymbal strikes, hi-hats, and it's female vocals as well. They roll off or trail off a little bit in an odd way. Okay, but EM6L, they sound smoother. The cymbal strikes, hi-hats, it sounds smoother, not so quirky, and at the same time female vocals also sound more natural sounding, right? So overall, I would say the EM6L and the VZ10, in terms of performance, it's pretty comparable. It's just that the EM6L, it sounds more musical and more fun and more casual in a way. Okay, and also in terms of price, this is about $20 more than the VZ10. Okay, but yeah, as I mentioned, right, in this market now, it's very competitive. It's just that, you know, depends on what tuning you are going after lah. So this one, if you want it more musical, this is the one to go for. You want something more natural sounding or neutral sounding, then go for the VZ10. Okay, right, so that is my conclusion and my comparison of this EM6L, and that also concludes my overall review. And thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video and also learned something from this video, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So that's it for now. I hope you guys have a great day ahead, and I'll see you again in my next video. Cheers.